$237 million. $237.6 million. You just had a UPS driver, an African American, right, dark complected, who was being called boy, and he was getting fucking discriminated against over and over again. This comes out of the U.S. District Court in the Eastern District of Washington at Yakima. This may be the biggest of its kind, the biggest ever in the state. So Mr. Grattan is going to get nearly $40 million for emotional distress, plus $198 million in punitive damages. You're not really punishing UPS if they don't feel it. Now they'll feel it, so stop being fucking racist, UPS. Jesus fucking Christ. We thank the jury for seeing the truth, vindicating our client's rights. The trial started. Okay, so this here is about Griswold v. Connecticut. Griswold v. Connecticut, 1965. And what are we talking about in Griswold v. Connecticut, 1965 decision of the Supreme Court? Well, we got the Connecticut law. In 1879, they passed a law that banned the use of any drug, medical device, or other instrument in furthering contraception. A gynecologist at the Yale School of Medicine, C. Lee Buxton, opened a birth control clinic in New Haven in conjunction with Estelle Griswold, who was the head of Planned Parenthood in Connecticut. They were arrested and convicted of violating the law, and their convictions were affirmed by the higher state courts. Their plan was to use the clinic to challenge the constitutionality of the statute under the 14th Amendment before the Supreme Court. So Estelle Griswold is into condoms, and she likes her condoms, and they did this damn thing, and they're like, hey, we have a right to condoms. And the state of Connecticut says, no, you don't. The law says you can't have no fucking condoms. Why are you using condoms? It goes against morality and God and the Confederate KKK Nazis, both of which are fine people. Both of which are fine people. Not fucking Donald, you racist motherfucker. A right to privacy can be inferred from several amendments in the Bill of Rights, and this right prevents states from making the use of contraception by married couples illegal. So, the Supreme Court decision of 1965 is going to overturn the Connecticut statute that says you're not allowed to have condoms. And this is fantastic for freedom. We're going to see a right to privacy here. We're going to see a right to freedom of speech. We're going to see a right to due process, right to life, liberty, and property. The right of freedom of speech and press includes not only the right to utter, to print, and the right to distribute, the right to receive, the right to read, and freedom of inquiry, freedom of thought, and freedom to teach, indeed, the freedom of the entire university community. Without those peripheral rights, those rights on the periphery, the specific rights would be less secure. So the periphery rights you don't just have freedom of speech. All you get to just talk to a damn wall. You get to just whisper to the grass. No, you get a right to talk to somebody else. You get a right to go out into the public square, on the sidewalk, out into the park. You have a right to write stuff down. If you can speak it, you can write it. You have the freedom of the press, so you can write it, you can publish it, you can put it on a piece of paper, you can pass that paper around. You can utter, you can print, you can receive, you can distribute. You have a right to read, you have a right to inquire, ask questions, freedom of thought, you have the right to think, and you got the freedom to teach. So everything that goes on in the university, you are allowed to do. Without those periphery rights, the specific rights would be less secure. Now that goes down the list with all of them. You got a right to peaceful assembly. You have a right to petition. You have a right to bear arms. You have a right to keep soldiers from quartering in your homes. You have a freedom from excessive bail and fines and cruel and unusual punishments. And anything in the periphery that would help those laws get enacted. I think of the right to petition. People want to act like a bunch of assholes. Hey, you're not allowed to ask me. This here is Nevada. You're not allowed to ask me for a petition. Do you know your first fucking amendment? Do you even know your goddamn preamble? Nevada was created during the Civil War. It's the battle-born state. And it's to protect freedom. So the point of America is to protect freedom. The point of Nevada is to protect freedom. And yet when you got a black man going around saying, hey, excuse me, sir, will you sign my petition? Hey, we're a bunch of racist fucking douchebags around here. A bunch of racist douchebag dipshit Donalds around here. The right of freedom of speech. So you get the periphery rights. If you have a right to petition your government for a redress of grievances, well, how are you going to get those damn signatures? So I can go to your door to door, knock on the doors. I can stand outside the grocery, outside the post office, in the sidewalk. As long as I'm methodical and orderly and polite, I'm not giving you any indication whatsoever that any crimes, I'm not like looking around like all weird and suspicious, not taking anything, not knocking shit over, not flipping you off. You have a right to petition, so therefore you got the peripheral rights to petition too. You have a right to peacefully assemble. Well, where the hell are we going to peacefully assemble at? You got a right to peacefully assemble in the streets, on the sidewalks, in the public parks, any public spot in the public lands. You have a right to religion. You have a right to the freedom of the press, the right to bear arms. The right to kick out a damn soldier if they're living in your fucking homes. Why are you living in my home? The king told me to. Get the hell out of here. What gives you the right? The Third Amendment of the Constitution, motherfucker. It's called the Bill of Rights, motherfucker. You heard of it? So 1965 Griswold v. Connecticut decision. There's some pushback on this because they're going to create a Penumbra. I don't know if they come up with the word Penumbra, or if they created the idea. If you combine some of the Bill of Rights, there's a right to privacy that's implicit. They also said that the right of privacy predates the Constitution. The right of privacy has been around since time immemorial, since Adam and Eve. Not Adam and Steve, Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. And Cain had the vegetables and God didn't like those fucking vegetables, but Abel burnt up that lamb, set that little lamb on fire, and God was pleased with that. I like how you set that little lamb on fire, Abel. That is really nice how you did that, Abel. Then God told Abraham to burn up his son. And then the daughters and Abraham, and it's like, Abraham, you're a shitty father. You're not allowed to assault, sexually or physically. Keep Abraham and every goddamn religion that's associated with Abraham away from my kids. So we have a right to petition. We have a right to speak. We have a right to peacefully assemble. We can come and ask you to come and peacefully assemble with us. Go up to your door, knock, knock, knock. Not this is a free country, is it not? So whereas there might be some questions about the right to privacy, which I'll talk about in a second, there's no doubt in my mind that we have a right to periphery rights. How in the world can we speak if we don't have anyone to speak to? We could just whisper to the grass. That's not a free country. You could whisper to the grass in motherfucking totalitarian North Korea. Hey, what are you doing? I'm whispering to the grass. Arrest him. Let him talk to the fucking grass. You're not even going to let him talk to the grass. No. He cannot talk to the grass. If he gets them to rebel, then the cows won't have anything to eat. The right to press means we get to write what we want, when we want. We get to publish what we want, when we want. Julian Assange should never have been in a fucking cage for 100 years. This is a free country, isn't it? He took a video that somebody else recorded and then published it on his website. Whippity, skippity, fucking doo-dah day. Whippity, skippity, doo-dah day. If this ain't a free country, we need to make it a free country. Why? How? Because. And how? Because we're going to use our First and Second and Third and Fourth and Fifth Amendments. We're going to use all the freedoms. All the freedoms that's in the preamble, all the freedoms that's in the body of the Constitution, all the freedoms in the first 8 amendments, plus the 9th Amendment, 10th Amendment, 11th Amendment, all the way up to 27. We are going to use every single one of our legal freedoms. We are going to get into this Constitution like nobody's business. We're going to get up in that ass. The oldest Constitution in the world, this shit's been working for a reason. Why has our Constitution not only been copied and redistributed and used by every other country, why has it been working so well in this country? It's because it's smart. Our Constitution is smart as fuck. Hamilton, Madison, John Jay, in a 7-2 decision authored by Justice Douglas. That's nearly unanimous. 7-2. The court ruled that the Constitution did in fact protect the right of marital privacy against state restrictions on contraception. While the court explained that the Constitution does not explicitly protect a general right to privacy, yeah, just like they don't protect presidential immunity. That's nowhere in the fucking Constitution either. The various guarantees within the Bill of Rights create penumbras, or zones, that establish the right to privacy. Together, the First, the Third, the Fourth, and the Ninth Amendment create the right to privacy in marital relations. This is according to Griswold v. Connecticut. You have a right to get married, you have a right to have sex with your wife or husband, and the police cannot kick down your door and say, all right, where are the condoms at? I know you married husband and wife were using condoms. So people say you have a right to privacy. Maybe you do. I think common sense says you have a right to privacy in your own home. And then even further, you have a right to privacy in your sacred marital bedroom. Husband and wife, that's a privileged communication, isn't it? Justice Douglas is going to author this decision. You take the First, Third, Fourth, and Ninth Amendment, all those, you put them in a bowl, and you combine them, and you get a right to privacy. Together, the First, Third, Fourth, and Ninth Amendments create the right to privacy in marital relations. The Connecticut statute conflicted with the exercise of this right, and therefore the Connecticut statute was null and void. You gotta throw that shit out, Connecticut. What the fuck? Connecticut. Justice Goldberg, joined by Justices Warren and Brennan, concurred. Rather than finding that the right to privacy was contained in imaginary penumbras, Goldberg located in the 9th and 14th Amendments. Justice Harlan concurred, arguing that the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment protects the right to privacy. That's substantial due process. We got substantial due process. How are you going to define due process and protection of life, liberty, and property? Well, you have substantial rights when it comes to the process. You have substantial rights when it comes to life, liberty, and property. Have you not read your 14th Amendment? Justice White concurred, arguing that the 14th Amendment was the proper basis for the decision. Justice Black, joined by Justice Stewart, dissented, unpersuaded by the loose reasoning of the majority. Black felt that there was no way to infer that the Constitution contained a right to privacy. He also dismissed the views of the concurrences that it could be found in the 9th and 14th Amendments. Justice Stewart, joined by Justice Black, filed a separate dissenting opinion. Stewart argued that despite his personal view that the law was uncommonly silly, he felt that the court had no choice but to find it constitutional. Hey, you've been using condoms, you're married, goddammit. You're not allowed to spill your seed onto the ground. You have to procreate in order to have children. You can't just enjoy yourselves for the hell of it. God would not approve of these sexual relations in the sacred marital bedroom. Would they arrest them, haul everybody off to jail? Your Honor, I saw a nasty condom in the corner of the room. Do you know who it belonged to? I presume the man, but did you actually see the man put it on and put it off? Well, to tell you the truth, no, I didn't, Your Honor. Case dismissed. During a solar eclipse, the penumbra is the area where some of the sun is still visible. The penumbra is the area of a partial shadow that surrounds the darker central area of a shadow known as the umbra. The word penumbra comes from the Latin words pene, meaning almost, and umbra, meaning shadow. Well, almost shadow, a gray area. Penumbra can also refer to a gray area where things are not all black and white. For example, one might say that the 17th century was in the penumbra of the Middle Ages. The 1600s? In the middle of the Middle Ages? Ah, that's such a penumbra. A body of rights. A body of rights, penumbra, can also refer to a body of rights that are implied in a civil constitution. For example, one might refer to the penumbra of the Bill of Rights, 1965, Griswold v. Connecticut decision. says that the state may not, consistently with the spirit of the First Amendment, contract the spectrum of available knowledge. The knowledge is out there. You cannot contract the spectrum of available knowledge. Various guarantees that help give them life and substance. Various guarantees create zones of privacy. The right of association contained in the Penumbra of the First Amendment is one, as we have seen. The Third Amendment and its prohibition against the quartering of soldiers in any house in time of peace without the consent of the owner. That's another facet of the Penumbra of the right of privacy. The Fourth Amendment explicitly affirms that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizures. That implies the right to privacy. The Fifth Amendment in its self-incrimination clause enables the citizens to create a zone of privacy which government may not force him to surrender to his detriment. And the Ninth Amendment provides that the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. We have a right to self-defense. We have a right to privacy, says Griswold v. Connecticut, 1965. Griswold v. Connecticut. By forbidding contraceptions, Connecticut's illegal laws would have a maximum destructive impact upon the marriage relationship. Such a law cannot stand. Would we allow the police to search the sacred precincts of marital bedrooms for telltale signs of the use of contraceptions? The very idea is repulsive to the notions of privacy surrounding the marriage relationship. We deal with the right of privacy older than the Bill of Rights, older than our political parties, older than our school system. Marriage is a coming together for better or for worse, hopefully enduring and intimate to the degree of being sacred. It is an association that promotes a way of life, not causes. A harmony in living, not political faiths. A bilateral loyalty, not commercial or social projects. Yet it is an association for as noble a purpose as any involved in our prior decisions. Reversed, Estelle Griswold and C. Lee Buxton. Use all the condoms that you want. You can blow the condoms up and hit them like a little balloon. You can put them on your head, put them on your dicks, put them on your clits, put them on your butts. Just have fun, ultimately. C. Lee Buxton and Estelle Griswold, persecuted under the state statute, outlawing contraception. There is a big goddamn, the Senate, the fucking Republicans in the Senate wouldn't even say that we have a right to contraception. What the fuck? We don't have a right to contraception in America? This is a free country? Do we have a right to contraception? You're not allowed to do abortions, but that has nothing to do with abortions because you're stopping the semen from fertilizing the egg. There is no life. Life begins, if you're going to say specifically with the science and the multiplication of the cells, when the egg is fertilized. So contraception, you can have that thing, the dam, the uterine thing, and the pill. You could use a birth control pill. You could use condoms. According to Griswold v. Connecticut, 1965, yes, you do have a right to using contraceptions. This has not been overruled. While the current Supreme Court's a little pissy about it because of the right to privacy, even Alito was like, oh, then they put the First Amendment, the Third Amendment, and then the Fourth, and they put like 5 or 6 of the freedoms together. These sons of bitches. What the hell are they doing? The 14th Amendment, SCOTUS, by opinion of William O. Douglas, overturned the convictions built upon Meyer v. Nebraska, Pierce v. Society of Sisters, Boyd v. U.S., Mapp v. Ohio. Mapp v. Ohio, they found pornography. We have a right to privacy. You can't just kick down a door and go searching through people's shit and be, aha! You got fucking Playboy. You got some naked pictures of a bunch of grown women's titties and a bunch of men's dicks. Get in the paddy wagon. Boyd v. U.S. 1886 protects against all government invasions. Boyd v. U.S. was interesting. The U.S. Marshal breaks into the door and he takes all the papers that's on the guy's desk and he says, He said he did the crimes, according to his own papers. And they said, well, that means you made him testify against himself without his consent. No, that is going to get thrown out. They have a right to privacy of life. It's interesting. When the court thinks of themselves, then they say a whole bunch of rights. When they think about their own freedoms, when they think about their power, they're like, we have all the freedoms in the world, and we're also immune. We get to do as the fuck as we please, and we get to do as the fuck as we please to other people. We are untouchable. We are part of the plexiglass white-collar mafia. Meyer v. Nebraska. This is the right to teach German language in a private school. You have a right to teach German, Spanish, even goddamn the dead language Latin in a private school. Not even a public school, but in a private school. This was questioned. It sure was. Meyer v. Nebraska in 1923. That was at the height of the hatred of the German people. Boyd v. U.S. 1886 protects against all government invasions. 1925 Pierce v. Society of Sisters. This is the right to educate one child. Where does that come from? The First and 14th Amendment. You got to put those together. And then when it comes to the periphery rights, A plus B equals C. So it's not specifically enumerated, but how can you have this right and this freedom, and you can't have a right to educate your own child? Get the fuck out of here. That's what Pierce v. Society of Sisters says. Of course you have a right to educate one's child, and if anybody tells you differently, tell them that the Supreme Court told you to get the fuck out of here. And that was 1925. That's 100 years ago. We're coming up on the anniversary of Pierce v. Society of Sisters. Meyer v. Nebraska, Boyd v. U.S., Matt v. Ohio. Man, oh man, decisions after decisions after a decision. Such a law cannot stand. Would we allow the police to search the sacred precincts of marital bedrooms for telltale signs of the use of contraceptions? The very idea is repulsive to the notions of privacy surrounding the marriage relationship. Marriage is a coming together, for better or for worse, hopefully enduring and intimate to the degree of being sacred. It's an association that promotes a way of life, family. It's good for family, not causes. It's a harmony in living, not political faiths, a bilateral loyalty, not commercial or social projects. Yet it is an association for as noble a purpose as any involved in our prior decisions. No, Connecticut, you do not get to knock down our doors and see if we got condoms on the motherfucking floor. No, Connecticut, you sick motherfuckers. You sick, sick motherfucker.